there's nothing happening in the world with foreign policy. Absolutely nothing. Everything's fine. Kittens and sunshine. It's all great, Kane. Nobody needs, it's fine, you know? I mean, we didn't even know what our very good friend Stephen Yates would even need to talk about. And you can find him on Twitter at YatesComs. He's such a good guy. We've talked to him. We've known Stephen for I don't know how many years now. Senior fellow at America First Policy Institute, chair of the China Policy Initiative as well. And we had a handful of people, more than a handful of people, that had reached out. Every time he is not with us during any week, people are like, because they know that China does not like him. And he's been very critical of the CCP, but they always reach out and they always chime in on anything that you have to say, my friend. And they noticed your absence, and I just wanted to say for those who are watching, your family experienced a tragic loss. You're a beautiful daughter, and we've been praying for you and praying for your family. We were praying for your daughter as well. Yesterday was her birthday, I know.
Yes.
And she's just beautiful. As a parent, I can't. No parent wants to be there. It is a it's a very horrible club to be in. But we love you, my friend, and we've been just sending every prayer and good vibe your way. And so I just wanted to tell you that before we dive into the nitty gritty, and so our audience knows, because we had a lot of people asking about you.
I'm deeply, deeply grateful for it. It's obviously an awful journey to have to go through. And I am still processing it all. And I'm just grateful that people have noticed and cared. We'll have a lot to say about what brought my daughter to her end. I mean, she had a long struggle with mental health and addiction. She was born out of incredibly difficult circumstances, came to us by the miracle of adoption. She was mixed race, had questions of identity from being adopted to being a quarter Native American, quarter African American, and half Irish. And I don't know which part made it harder for her, but probably having me as a dad was a burden that she had to carry. But we loved each other all the way through, lots of crazy stuff. But the punchline is that, as we've talked, I firmly believe that fentanyl and all who traffic in it and enable it are the greatest threat and WMD against the American family in the history of our republic. That's what took oxygen from my daughter's brain and took her from us. And that's how we've been spending the last 2 weeks, was untangling a long journey through brain death, ICU, hospice, a long goodbye, and still untangling some of the details. There's some blessings and tender moments in all of that. I have not been this put together in a conversation for 2 weeks. But I just want to thank you, Dana, and your audience for giving me the grace and the prayers and the friendship.
Of course, of course. And we can't imagine him not being ever put together. I just have to say, you seem like the guy that you want in your trench when something goes sideways. I've got
I'm
to
pretty
tell
good
you.
at fighting for other people. When you have to fight for yourself, it's just a whole nother ballgame.
It's a very different perspective, and you go through a journey where you learn phrases and words that relate to well-being, someone's well-being that you never thought you'd have to learn, phrases and time periods and all of this stuff, and it's heartbreaking. And you mentioned fentanyl, and what's being trafficked in at the southern border, and of course at the backing of China. Where
Yes.
all of the elements are created, and all of this comes together. And I don't think anybody, to your point, Stephen, there is not a single family that is unaffected by this. I
Right.
mean, in my own family, I've had relatives that have dealt with this situation. I mean, Kane and I both, I mean, everybody, that's how prevalent this is.
Well, and the way it is distributed now just multiplies that risk. So think of how expensive healthcare can be and prescription drugs can be, and how many people think that they have some problem with ADHD or anxiety. I mean, we have a generation of kids where, when I was growing up, you were basically just sent out and toughen up and don't complain or whatever it was. I'm sure we did complain. We weren't perfect kids. But we have a generation of kids that have grown up in a completely different universe. Social media amplifies all of this in all of the worst ways. And one of the primary means of delivery is laced Xanax or other laced prescription that's off market. So no one's going and getting a straight shot of fentanyl. That would kill 12,000 elephants at once. So you got this dastardly business of the precursors coming into China. You have them money laundering and collaborating with the cartels. We have the unforgivable policy on the border, but we also have this culture that's getting torn apart. And what I've tried to share with friends is that, Christina came to us by way of adoption. And when I travel the world, most governments and friends in other countries, they don't even understand this concept of taking a child that comes from someone else, that doesn't look like you, bringing that child in and loving that child as your own. And then you knew that there were problems. Her birth mother had cocaine and alcohol in her system in utero through her pregnancy. We knew there were going to be issues. To me, this is a uniquely American greatness and I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about the thousands and thousands of other families that go through all of this, and people in other countries can't even understand it. It just makes it all the more evil that a country that had a one-child policy is extremely racist about what constitutes a citizen and who belongs, is putting this kind of insidious chemical in. This is, to me, just past a policy debate. We have to protect the American family first. We have to honor and protect fatherhood and motherhood and people who step out onto this thin ice to take in children who are at risk. These lives matter. If you're an ounce of pro-life, you have to be a pound of love and support for the people who all they wanted was a kid. They had no idea what they were going to do to address mental health and addiction. And that is a whole bucking bronco that unless you've lived it with a loved one, you can't know. But then you add the fentanyl on top of it. And yes, we are there. I think this dwarfs COVID as a pandemic. Frankly, even though it traumatized me and it shaped my life, it dwarfs 9/11 as an attack on America and American civilization. It is terrorism, and it's tearing us apart. While I don't like that I have solace in others who have walked this walk, I feel a little less alone with a lot of friends, some very prominent and famous people who have not publicly shared what they've gone through. But to your point, so many people, even of means or poor, it doesn't discriminate. And so to me, this is a life commitment. It's a blood oath that I'll do everything possible in the culture wars from the grassroots up to fight this scourge. And if there's any country, any foreign influence that wants to step on this turf, I don't want wars, but you start killing our children and killing our families and our communities, and enough has to be enough.
I think, and we're talking with Stephen Yates, and you can find him on Twitter at YatesComs or on X at YatesComs. You made, I think, one of the best perspective shaping arguments for this, and in terms of the watch for this and the awareness of it and how it needs to be dealt with, because it is one of the only things that's not directly, it's not targeted against an ethnicity or against a sex or against a religion. It is targeted against everyone. And if people think, to your point, that the CCP and these other bad players in the world are not looking at how to exploit every single thing and attack, Western civilization and the leader of it, the United States, from every angle that they can, particularly this one, which is so prevalent in so many families across the country. I mean, this is it. And it is, I think, really sobering for a lot of people to realize that one of the things that they have paid the least to is the greatest attack of them all.
Right. Well, I mean, think of the only institutions that can overcome this are going to be institutions of faith, the power of an almighty, the traditional family, whether you like it or not. And I am for anybody, love is love, whatever you want to say. I'm just saying, if you're there as a parent to love and care for a kid, I want to be there for you to help you love and care for that kid. And everything, and even trying to tear apart what is America. America is beautiful. America is a blessed place. America is what made this journey with my beautiful, wild lightning bolt of Christina possible. It doesn't happen in other places. We adopt people from all over the world to come into our homes and accept them as our own, as our family, the most beloved in our whole lives. And we need to do more of that for the children in our own country. And so there's everything from foster to, but church communities. I mean, we have to stop the attack on communities of faith that are the healing and nurturing infrastructure. I mean, you can't have put someone in a place like I've been for the last 5 years and especially the last 2 weeks, where the only backstop is a faceless bureaucrat in government. That is cruel and unusual punishment. And America wasn't built that way. It didn't have to be that way. I think wrong thinking, woke agenda, and all of that is targeting this very, very problem. One of the last things on just this journey that no parent wants to have to go through, when your child meets his or her end, all of a sudden you have to fill out a questionnaire about, was your child black, white, Hispanic, something else? And there's no forgiveness in it. My daughter was a quarter Native American, a quarter black, half Irish. Who knows whatever else was in there? But what she really was is she was a Yates. She was a person. She was an American. That's what she was. That's what's supposed to be our identity. And that's what's so insidious. But our only road back to care for the injured in all of this process is to get back to those healing institutions and being what we're really supposed to be. So that's my sermon for today on how to try to take an absolute gut punch like this. I have a son who is trying to hold himself up going through all this, has his own questions about why God would do these kinds of things or not intervene. These are the kind of questions that we are here as parents to try to deal with. But I hope that by sharing some of this stuff, number one, I want everyone to take very, very seriously. You need to get your kids to have advanced directives, because they'll grow up and they'll go do stupid stuff. You don't want to be stuck having to fight legal things when you're dealing with all of this kind of situation. But also, just know if there's someone who's saying they're having a tough walk with mental health, that's not a joke anymore. We've got to find a better way to deal with it. I don't think government's the solution, but we as a culture have to find a way to fix a lot of these things. But the pieces that will pull this back together is just like what they tell you in AANA or any other part of life. There's only one power in this universe that has the power to overcome this. We have to stop denying that power.
Amen to that. Our good friend Stephen Yates, who I think you go through such a personal tragedy and it becomes such a powerful tool of witness. I think better than anybody has in this entire conversation laid out just how dangerous identity politics is, number one. And number two, why people, your daughter being a Yates and all of the things, that's why people come to America. You can be, as I said, you can be from, you can't go to Italy and be Italian, you can't go to France and be French, but you can come to the United States and be American because of that unbelievable animated spirit of liberty, that trait, which is what statism targets.
Absolutely,
that's our
100%.
Unity. That's our unity. We're praying for you. I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. I think that you have the most reasoned take on foreign policy out there, and you have blessed us by being on this program with us for so many years now. And I want to tell everyone, Stephen does this of his own time because we're not a big high flying operation. We keep everything tight and controlled so that we can do what we do and not have to answer to people. And Stephen has been so gracious with his time and his talent. And I just want to say that you've blessed us over the years with that. And we are so grateful for you. And we're grateful for your family. And we're grateful that you're sharing, I know, the hardest fight of your life. And hopefully that sticks in people's minds and that becomes good. And that's the legacy. So thank you so much, my friend. God love you. We're praying for you and we're here for you. We'll talk off air too. Thank you, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dana.
Of
Much
course.
appreciated.
Thank you.